Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to Boston.com's Cocktail Club. I'm Jackson Cannon, and soon I'll be joined by Jared Sadoian, curriculum manager from Offsite. Tonight, we're making drinks in the blender, catching up on the restaurant and bar community, and of course, sharing some tips that pros use to make great drinks at home. Thanks to all of you who sent us those kind notes while we were off, encouraging us to get back. And we are thrilled to be back with you for a few exciting summer events. I'm going to go through everything we need for tonight, and all the while we are taking your questions from the chat. We're making frozen drinks in the blender, so hopefully you've got one of these things. Now, if you don't, the recipes for the cocktails that we're using definitely work shaken over cubed ice the way we make regular cocktails. They're fine swizzled or put over crushed ice. So, one of the pieces of equipment that you'll need is some kind of bag to smash ice. I have this little Lewis bag, and I spent a little time before we got here just crushing up a couple of simple little ice trays like the ones we use to make our cubed ice in that bag. And then I just threw this in the freezer and pulled it out just a couple minutes before we got started. So I've got crushed ice, and that's just going to make it go a little bit smoother when we go to trying to blend it even finer with our cocktail ingredients. And if you don't have that bag, of course, you can put some ice right into a plastic bag like that, get out the rolling pin, put a few kitchen towels around, and just gently tap until you get it crushed to the consistency that you need. You'll need to measure carefully for the sweet and sour in these cocktails. I have these bar jiggers that are 2 ounces over 1. If you don't have that, a tablespoon will work for you. These recipes are just a little bit larger. We need a little bit more stuff to make these drinks in the blender. So it's a lot of 2 ounces to 1 ounce, 1 ounce. So just remember that the tablespoon is half an ounce. So if it calls for 2 ounces of some ingredient, you can use 4 tablespoons to get that into your mixing vessel. For other tools, cutting board and a knife and some tweezers is good. And then for ingredients, some white rum. A lot of questions about favorite brands. I have so many. This is Plantation 3 Stars on the deck with me. I like Bacardi for this. Bully Boy is a local white rum. So is Privateer, a really exceptional one. If you know me, you know I haven't met a quality rum that I really didn't find something good to say about it. So, whatever your favorite is going to do the job, I'm sure. A little bit of tequila if you want to make a margarita, or today you can actually make a couple of daiquiris in a row. We'll talk more about that in a minute. You're going to need coconut cream. This is a Coco Lopez brand. Took it out of the can and just whisked it for a little while to get it just nice integrated consistency. If it settled out a little bit in here, I can shake it. A lot of early questions about, can I use coconut water? Can I use coconut milk? Coconut cream is going to have that texture you want, but as we're making the drink, we'll talk more about if you do want to use a different product, how we can buck that up just a little bit to make it work in the blender. Pineapple juice, either canned or fresh. This is fresh. I just did it in a slow auger juicer so it didn't get heated up, and pressed that out for myself today. And then for the daiquiri, that's for the Pina Colada. For the daiquiri, you'll need some fresh squeezed lime juice, a little bit of simple syrup, and that will work with fresh strawberries for either the strawberry margarita or the strawberry daiquiri, however you choose to do it. When I was making that pineapple juice, I took off a few of the fronds, and I've got some fun straws and umbrellas, and I'm feeling like I pretty much have everything I need to make some great blended drinks. Well, I first met Jared many years ago when he applied for a barback position at Eastern Standard while a senior at MIT. He's very at home both behind the stick and in operations, and he's worked at Craigie on Main and the Hawthorne, and is currently the curriculum manager for Offsite. He's an excellent bartender, a really respected spirits specialist, a great friend. You can support him directly by hitting the tip jar. His Venmo is at Jared Sadoian. He's excited to break out the blender, and I'm excited to welcome back Pete, the Cocktail Club. Welcome, Jared.
All right, Jackson, it's nice to see you.
Good to see you, bro. Oh, the kitchen, a perfect place for what we're doing today.
It really is. Kitchen's a perfect setting for, potentially getting a little messy with a blender, but I think we're going to keep it clean today.
I hear we're having a few technical difficulties. I'm just checking in. Some people are getting a black screen.
Yeah, it seems like if folks are having that black screen, one potential fix is if you just log out of that Zoom and just hop right back in it. It seems like it's come on for some folks that have had that issue already. So
Awesome. Yeah, I noticed there was an update. I did an update on Zoom when I logged on today. So if you don't have the update, you might want to do that too. We're just going to chat for a while, so you got a minute to pull that off. Tell us a little bit more about what you've been doing. We know about you in bars and restaurants, but tell us what it means to be curriculum manager for Offsite.
yeah, our company exists to link liquor brands to bartenders, and the one thing that everybody seems to want these days is education. They want to know more. They want to grow in their knowledge, to be able to make better drinks, to communicate with their guests, and we serve as experts in that field, building educational programs for the bartending community, both here in Boston as well as around the country.
That's so exciting. In your work, how are you finding your counterparts, your former counterparts in the bar industry, getting along at this point in our hazy, crazy summer of 2021?
Hazy and crazy seems to be the right way to put it. I mean, it's been exciting to see a number of places start opening back up. It's been exciting to see, as the summer has sort of come into focus here, now that it seems like a lot of that rain is finally behind us here in town, seeing the patios open back up, and seeing a few frozen drinks flowing as well. It's been particularly exciting.
Yeah, it's just nothing says escape quite the same way as a frozen beverage. So when somebody's making drinks at home or is learned through kind of being a young professional in the bar room as well, a lot of the kind of traditional ways of putting cocktails together, they may think that they could just kind of move over, throw it in there and crush some ice on it. It'll all work out fine. In your experience, what have you learned to be like the couple of different things that you have to keep in mind, sort of, I guess, scientifically, that are going on inside a blended drink that are different from a classic cocktail?
Yeah, the couple of things I would point out is that one, a lot of these drinks, when you're looking at, if you're looking up a frozen drink recipe, for example, you're going to see probably a little bit more sugar than you might be used to seeing, a little bit more sweetener than you might be used to seeing in what would be a traditional shaken or stirred cocktail. We like to put a little bit of extra sugar in these drinks for a couple of reasons. One is that this drink is frozen, right? It's cold. It numbs your palate, and you don't taste some of the rich flavors that you're using in these drinks, whether they be from the spirit, fruits, and potentially other ingredients. And so the sugar acts as a flavor enhancer. It also acts to make that final beverage a little bit more rich and viscous, and I think ultimately more enjoyable. And then the other thing too is that you don't want to overdo it on the booze. Alcohol has a much lower freezing point than water does, and if you use too much alcohol in your drink, it's not going to freeze quite right. Now, I use that as an excuse that I'm not going to put as much booze in some of these drinks as I would maybe if I was making a shaken margarita or a daiquiri, for example. But that means I can just have another frozen strawberry margarita after I finish my first one, right?
Love that. You're already thinking of the sessionable qualities of that.
A couple steps ahead, yeah.
So, I am interested to see how many people are surprised at our position that a Pina Colada, which is a classic cocktail at this point, created in the 1950s in Puerto Rico, is really a daiquiri variation. And when you break it down to its simplest form and say, hey, it's rum and pineapple and coconut, so it's rum with pineapple instead of lime and coconut for the coconut cream for the sugar element, it seems really obvious. I think when you start to tweak it a little bit and add a few different ingredients, sometimes maybe that gets a little lost.
Yeah.
So just on those ingredients for just a second, I see one of our guests, Mike, found a coconut cream brand that's really, really, really thick. And this is a thing, like I recommend Coco Lopez because some are thinner, some are thicker, and that's sort of like is sort of the mama bear of the coconut creams. But sometimes a can will be kind of like locked up. So you really just have to whisk away to get it into liquid form. But there are any other tips that you found to kind of, so sometimes I'll use a few drops of lime juice or pineapple juice or a little bit of water. Have you found any other things that you can do?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I learned from our time together at the Hawthorne, right, is blending that coconut cream down with actually a little bit of dairy. And I know
Right.
that you enjoyed that move too. It adds a little bit of richness, a little bit of that good fat, and makes a really easy to sort of mix liquid.
Well, you know, curiously, that is the original. The original is coconut cream and heavy cream, and you don't have to choose, right? And so that's not how we ended up doing it. We were just going about our business of testing everything we did, right? And I was like, hey, what would that be like? And we all agreed it was outstanding. I stopped consuming dairy a little while after that. So, you know, not just for me, but for others, we ended up with a sort of secondary prep behind that, right? If you needed to do a dairy-free thing, but you should actually always ask when you're getting some of these creamy drinks, don't assume they're just coconut, because what we used to do was 2 parts of that Coco Lopez with 1 part cream, then you whisk that together, bottle that off, keep that cold. And yeah, it's très elegant, you know, it's really, really a nice move. I'm glad you mentioned it. Shall we make a drink?
I think so, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to take us through what I think, and there are lots of great variations of this, but this is just a 3-chord song of a Pina Colada. And at the same time, you're going to do a daiquiri,
Right.
sort of proving our point that we're really in the same thing. So for this, I'm going to start, and I'm going to measure into my tin and kind of dump into my mixing glass, just a habit I got into of kind of just in case I get distracted or get pulled away or need to do something else. But I'm going to get these all together right here. It's a little easier than throwing them up all the way into the blender at once. So I'm going to do 2 full ounces of white rum.
And I'm gonna do exactly the same thing. 2 full ounces of white rum.
And then I'm going with an ounce of coconut cream.
And we're talking about the sweetener here, right? Like that coconut cream.
Right.
So I'm using a very basic, simple syrup, equal parts by volume, sugar and water. And I'm gonna use an ounce of that as well.
Awesome. And then me for my citrus, a little bit of pineapple juice. Again, fresh squeeze or fresh churned is great. Canned works as well.
Yep. And I'm using fresh squeezed lime juice. Again, yeah, if you want to make great cocktails at home, I think we talked about this in a prior session. Using fresh squeezed citrus, fresh squeezed juices will make a world of difference, even significantly more than spending the extra money for top shelf liquor. Using the fresh citrus will make a bigger difference.
Right. It's like, there are a lot of great value brands, well-made spirits, but your drink is only as good as its weakest link.
Yeah.
So if you use some kind of horrible citrus product, it doesn't matter what you use for spirit, your drink's going to be less. All right, are we going in here?
Well, there was just something that popped up in the chat about whether pineapple is a citrus or not. In this case, we're treating it as the acidic component of
Right,
our
right.
cocktail. It does have some sweetness of its own that it's bringing to the equation, and in this case, we're trying to balance that out in the total recipe for our drink. So we have something strong, something sweet, and something acidic, and those things come into balance there.
Yeah, perfectly said. All right, so we're going to start with, I'm going to go up here.
Yeah. I'm going to measure out some ice as well. It looks like you have some kind of cracked up ice also.
I did that. What do you got? What are you using over there?
Same thing. Just we took ice cubes and just kind of cracked them up. we've got a number of tools you can actually use for that. My friend here has a large wooden carpenter's mallet that actually does a really fine job of breaking the. I think your rolling pin method works quite well too.
Yeah. Yeah, we just want to get this so that it's started, and we don't want you can actually use the blender itself to crack the ice up before you ever put anything in, and then transfer it back out. I've done that before to try and break down the ice a little bit, but you just don't want to be like having everything have to try and get from whole cubes with all the ingredients in there the whole time down to the texture you want. Won't go very smoothly. And then we're going to add a little bit more as we go. And we're going to start off kind of nice and slow. And we're going to be eyeballing, looking for that vortex to form and the texture, right? So what else should we tell them before we get going? I guess, can you give us a measure of the ice? A scoop is about 6 to 8 ounces, I think.
Yeah, I use just a full 8-ounce measure of ice, especially, at the Hawthorne, we have the luxury of using very uniform size sort of nugget ice that we blended with, and that can compact pretty well. But if you're using the ice that comes out of your refrigerator's ice maker, or if you're using trays of ice, that may come in different shapes and sizes. And so you want to just make sure you're using enough ice. The way that I was always taught is that it's always a little more than you think you're going to need.
Right.
Again, if you think about what I was saying earlier about the alcohol content of these cocktails, right? You actually do want a little bit more ice to add a little bit more water to that equation to get it to really freeze down that to a very, very nice, smooth consistency.
Awesome. Shall we kick it into gear? I'm on my lowest setting.
Let's give it a try.
Don't forget to put the top on, friends. This happens to pros and amateurs alike. It's a step in the process. Tap the blender, and we're off to the races. I can tell already, I think I'm going to need just a little bit more than I dropped in there for ice. And we're listening, trying to see as it gets a little bit smoother. You don't want to overdo this step though, because you'll freeze it up. So I'm just putting in a more. Turning it up a little bit. That's starting to look like it's got the right.
Yeah, that looks good. It's starting to look pretty good for me too.
Yeah, I think I'm there.
Nice. It's a sort of a uniform texture. It still has a certain sort of liquidity to it. Like you should be able to still pour it. It shouldn't be frozen solid. And then we can go ahead and pour that out.
And you can see it's flowing out. There we go. All right, and for me, I'm gonna go with a nice long straw. I have a little bit of the fronds of the pineapple that I took.
I'm gonna put a little lime on mine. Right on the edge.
I'm gonna garnish that with a little festive umbrella as well.
Look at you.
Yeah, my parasol.
Beautiful.
And I do like Pina Coladas as a variation to that beautiful frozen daiquiri.
Delicious.
Cheers, Jared.
Cheers.
Well, I can't compare drinks, but to your point about pineapple is sweet, but it's the acid in this.
Yeah.
This is just such a balanced drink. Yes, it's a sweet drink. It is sweeter, but as a frozen drink should be.
But
and
sometimes you treat yourself, so.
Well, and I think this drink works great with, a little bit of Angostura bitters in it. I think that's
Ah,
awesome. I think it works well with a little more acid, a touch of lime juice. But I think it just works so well at its core. You do lose like just savoring over the base ingredients. Just another thing you can do is add an element of like toasted coconut, or play against it with almond. There's really endless things that you can build on it. And the words pina colada, it literally translates as pineapple strained. But it has become synonymous with like a sweet, savory treat. So a colada can also be made with champagne instead of rum, or with sherry. The variations are truly endless. These combinations work very well with agave spirits as well. You can add chocolate to this flavor profile, or coffee goes so well with both pineapple and coconut that you're in solid ground. So once you've got this platform, there's really nothing, no end in sight for the variations that'll be tasty on this guy. How did everyone do? Just checking the chat.
seemed like some folks had some success based on what I was seeing there.
Awesome.
I'm picturing a couple hundred home blenders running right now.
It's like hopefully we didn't put a little drain on the on the net if we were all in too close up
of
a proximity.
If all the lights in the city dim for a second, we know why. Yeah.
Oh, somebody added some half and half. I like that move.
There you go.
How long did we run the blender for? And kind of until it stops. It's like popcorn until it stops making that sound.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, mine was a little bit shorter than yours, I think, but it depends on the size of your ice and what kind of ice you're using. There's lots of factors at play there. I know when we were working behind the bar, using that small sort of little nugget ice, that I know some fridges have that feature of making that sort of pre-crushed ice. It can actually be pretty quick.
Right. Yeah, I think the larger chunks sort of like came to the top of my bag.
Yeah.
It was a little bit, it was knocking around in there a little bit more than I was hoping for. Well, hey, before we get to mixing it, we've got a few things to talk about. We sent a little mixed message, both pumping up the strawberry daiquiri and pumping up the strawberry margarita.
That's right.
And turns out, like, when you get them into their basic form here, they might be, from an architectural standpoint, kind of the same drink. From a flavor profile, obviously a little bit different, historically different as well. But why don't you talk us kind of through how you like to build both strawberry margarita and daiquiri?
Yeah. I mean, using that same daiquiri template, the same template that we used for that recipe for the pina colada, right? You have 2 ounces of spirit, you have an ounce of something sweet, and you have an ounce of something acidic. In this case, I'm going to augment that sweetness with some actual fresh fruit. And up here in the Northeast, this season we've been seeing some really beautiful berries starting to make their way out, including these really just lovely strawberries, small, full of flavor, and just a beautiful addition to a cocktail, in addition to any number of other things you might be making in your kitchen. So in this case, I'm going to make a strawberry margarita here. And I think Jackson's putting together a strawberry daiquiri. I'm going to use Blanco tequila in this strawberry margarita. And the same thing, right? Same as the that pina colada or regular daiquiri recipe. I'm going to use 2 ounces of that spirit. I'm going to go right into my blender. You can use a tin too if you prefer to mix it, or if you're not near your blender for whatever reason. We're going to do an ounce of that fresh squeezed lime juice. And now, a traditional margarita, right, would call for triple sec, right, a type of orange liqueur instead of a plain sweetener like a simple syrup. In this case, because I'm making this a frozen drink, I do want to have a little bit more. I'm going to amp up that sweetness a little bit. So I'm going to use simple syrup instead of the orange curacao. Now you can mix it up if you prefer a little bit of a drier profile. You can add, let's say, 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup, and then you can do an ounce or a 1/4 of an ounce of your favorite orange liqueur. This is Pierre Ferrand's dry curacao. You can also leave it out entirely. It's totally okay. And then obviously we got to make this thing a strawberry margarita. So I've got these beautiful strawberries here, and I'm just gonna 1/4 them just to make them blend up a little easier. And I'm gonna do about 4 of them into this drink. You can do more or less depending on the size of the berries that you have. But I'm gonna do 4 of these, and I always have a few extra because I love having an extra strawberry available for a really nice, pretty garnish on this drink too.
Hey, to let our friends know, you absolutely can sub in agave nectar for simple syrup here.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
And where I pull back on that one for the Tommy's margaritas that we've made together, in the frozen version, I don't. I push a full portion of agave nectar right in with the citrus. It creates this whole other like symphony really with the agave distillate as well. So
yeah, and so now much the same way, I'm going to do about a whole cup of ice, those big, just those nice cubes. In some cases, if there happens to be some large chunks of ice or whatnot, you can, they actually make these kind of fun little tools. They're called an ice tapper. And you can just it has kind of like a whipping motion, and it can break these cubes up into manageable size pieces that are, that'll blend quite readily. So I'm going to do about a full cup of that crushed ice with the strawberries.
don't forget.
Ready to kick this off?
Yeah, don't forget to cap it.
Don't forget to cap it, especially when you're involving a bunch of like bright red stainy fruit, you know? So
yeah, true story. So when people found out that we were doing strawberry margarita and or daiquiri and another daiquiri and or pina colada,
yeah,
they were quick to point out a very fun variation. So that's why I'm kind of, if it seems like I'm doing double duty here, I'm trying to get ready to show you that one too. So
I got just a nice little vortex going there, and I got this smooth texture. You do have to really let this thing blend a bit to make sure all those bits of fruit get properly blended, and then we should be ready. We should be ready to serve. The one thing I will mention while we're pouring this out, the beautiful thing about blenders is that you can make more than one of these at a time. So it's a really easy way if you're making drinks for a crowd. You can do 3, maybe even 4 of these in one of these sort of standard size blender containers. Looks like I actually have enough for a bonus round here.
So I'm just whipping up another pina colada because why? Because I can. At the same time, as trying to get my texture just right on the strawberry. I didn't quite get the consistency I was looking for the first time. I'm just boosting it a little bit longer. Oh yeah.
Because you're going to do a little something special there, huh?
I am going to try my very, very best to pour us the famous Miami Vice.
Uh-huh.
The drink you drink when you can't choose between a strawberry daiquiri or margarita and a pina colada.
Because why have just one frozen drink in your glass, right? When you can have 2.
And if I have enough room to pull this off, and I
let's
have
see
them both.
Let's see it.
Just uh-oh. Whoop.
Uh-huh.
Ready, everybody?
There we go.
There we go.
It's happening. Oh, I love that.
It is. It's all happening. The clear glass, nice way to show.
I love this drink. It is so cool. It is
So
cool.
you can
Yeah,
see
even cooler to drink.
one side is Pina Colada and the other side is strawberry daiquiri. And in my case, I'm not even mixing spirits. I'm just having two different rum drinks at the same time.
A beautiful little strawberry daiquiri. Sorry, a strawberry margarita here. And you are rich with umbrellas today.
I am a little skewer of fresh strawberries on that side, and a palm frond pineapple on that side. And
what else you got? What else you got in the tricks there?
Do a little short festive straw out the side there. Here's to you, my man.
Hey, cheers. I love.
Cheers.
I can't believe we got to make frozen drinks together. This is great. But it is like, it's so transportive, right? Hot summer day, cold frozen drink. It's the perfect combination, and you don't have to be on a beach. You don't have to be on a cruise ship. You can be in your own kitchen, and you can.
One of our friends using fresh frozen strawberries. That's a fun home hack because you're picking up a little bit of the frozen already.
Yeah.
You know?
And you can also freeze the fresh fruit you get. So if, like at the farmer's market, I have a bad habit of buying too many berries. And you know, if I tried to turn them all into strawberry daiquiris, my wife and I would probably not be in a great place. So we freeze the leftovers, and we can always come back to them.
I also like that for I'm willing to do a variety. Like it doesn't have to be one or the other too. Like I sometimes find that in this season right here through the summer is like you're kind of transitioning through from strawberry towards like kind of blueberry, and I find that blackberries themselves as like a bramble ingredient, they don't have quite enough, right? So if I can mix a little strawberry and blackberry and blueberry, I'm in a pretty happy place, you know. Like I sort of feel like the mixed fruit gets underrated, I guess. But and you can actually build those into simple syrups too if you want, and that will make this moment that much easier. You know, just if you want to cook some of that off in syrups, as we've talked about before, make your simple syrup slow on the stove with your fruit. Is an interesting way to go as well. I'm so gonna drink this whole thing.
Yeah, exactly, right. I believe actually, as it happens in just a few weeks, I think Miami Vice Day is coming up.
There's a Miami Vice Day.
August 16th. I don't know why, but here we are.
Well, we are living in the world of every day is multiple days, multiple national this and that days. So
I'm particularly happy about that one. So
yeah, me too. But I'm you know, one of our advanced questions was, can I have daiquiris all winter long? And to that, I resoundingly say yes. You most certainly can. So, well, thanks for spending some time, Jared, and talking us through some of the particulars of really, really great having you. And that's all the time we have, friends. Flies by. Please join us again for our next cocktail club, which is going to be Thursday, August 5th at 7 p.m. I'll be making stirred summer sippable drinks with John E. Rodriguez. Make sure to follow Boston.com events for more info about that and our soon to be announced cocktail club in person. What? Hey, thanks, Jared. Really great having you. All right, bye, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.